Hey, what's up? It's Mike Squires, and this is Couch Riffs podcast number 88. That's right, 88. My guest on this episode is, I think, my first pianist slash keyboardist. Although there are people who I've had on the show who are very good at playing keys, for sure. This is Brandon Ethridge's primary instrument. And what an amazing, awesome, and unlikely path to becoming a professional rock musician a person could possibly take. I don't know. It kind of blew my mind. I was very surprised. He's great. I super duper love talking to him. He's a good talker. He's good at talking the words, better than I'm at talking the words, because he got himself an education, so he's got a vocabulary. Vocabulary is my biggest vocabulary word, probably. I don't even know. What the fuck do I know? But Brandon is, he plays keys and is the musical director in Mark Martel's Queen tribute act. It's amazing. He's done a number of Broadway shows and touring acts, stage performances. He lived in Europe, in Germany, and I think he said Switzerland and Austria for 17 years. It's incredible. What a cool career, cool life, and super inspiring to me. And I hope that you listen to this and become inspired yourself. And go give him a follow right now. He's back in Kansas on doing a house project, which is super awesome to watch. And he will be making an appearance in a Couch Riffs video very soon. So I hope that you enjoy that. Now listen, I hope that you enjoy this as much as I did, because I really did. I loved it. Now, if you are enjoying the Couch Riffs podcast or would like to be supportive of the video productions that you are about to start seeing, which took like actual months to organize and get together, you'd be surprised how difficult it is to herd cats. Maybe you wouldn't. But if you would like to be supportive, you could become a monthly pledge donor for as little as 99 cents a month over there at anchor.fm/couch-riffs, or just go to anchor.fm and search for Couch Riffs. Or there's a link in the description of this podcast. Now listen, these folks are donating every month, and I really appreciate it. So listen, thank you so much to Ryan Waters, Hayden Smith, Jamie McParland, Teresa Morgan, Matt Gabbs, Justin Jones, Deja Colantuono, Adam Pranica, Joan McKagan-Baker, Dan Hurst, Dan Leary, Kathy Giordano, Mike Lacerda, Rebecca Pellman, Chris Smith, Steve Hall, Perry Morgan, Oliver Spencer, Paul Hutzler, Justice Gash. Thank you so much to Rolla Amplifiers. I got your hat on right now. Go check out the Bob Balch amp. It's a ripper. And thank you so very much to River City Guitars, the coolest guitar store in all of Eastern Washington, easily. Now listen, Bobby over there, my man Bobby Kluss, is out on a rampage buying up all the cool guitars, right? You have a cool guitar, you have a used guitar, a vintage guitar, you have a collection of such guitars, get a hold of River City Guitars, rivercityguitars.com over there in Spokane. Bobby will likely travel to you for the right project. He just came into a bunch of amazing 80s guitars, and every week I have a pick of the week. And this week that pick is probably my favorite of all. It's a 1985 Hamer Steve Stevens with a factory Hamer logo finish, which means it's black and it just says Hamer all over the top of it. It's got one humbucker, 2 single coils, and a Floyd Rose. Now, I have one of these guitars. Mine is super cool in its own way. I got mine from Bobby. Bobby has a real thing for the Hamers, and because they're amazing. But I mean, if you're not in the market to buy one, you at least have to go look at this thing. It's incredible. Maybe you have a Cheap Trick tribute band. This would be a great guitar to play in that. I'll tell you that right now. So yeah, that is my pick of the week. It's $24.99. They're accepting offers with $80 shipping. It'll be out the door to you on, Friday if you're listening to this on Wednesday. Go for it. Go over and get a look at all their stuff. They got a bunch of great stuff. If there's not what you're looking for on there, give them a call because there's a lot of stuff that hasn't made the website yet, okay? River City Guitars, I love them. Go check them out. Listen, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. The podcast is on par without any further growth to triple from its first year. And that's super humbling, and I can hardly believe it. And thank you so much. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and leave a positive review. That would be amazing. Be nice to each other. Wear a mask. This isn't about maybe not for you. Wear it for the people that you care about and the people that you don't know that are good people. And for the bad people, they don't deserve to die a miserable death. Some people maybe, but you're not to judge. Be nice. Remember the golden rule, and I love you. Here he comes.
Hey there.
Can you hear me? Oh, Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
What? You owe me a Coke? You want me to say you owe me a Coke? I don't understand.
You never did that when you were a kid?
No.
What? If you say something at the same time, then Jinx, you owe me a Coke?
Oh, no. We didn't have that. Not in Kansas farm country. We don't even know what that meant.
What did you guys jinx with? Yoo-hoo?
I'm not even familiar with this whole jinx thing.
Really?
No, not at all.
Was there any dumb playground thing if you said something at the same time?
I'm not aware of it. I'm really not.
I mean, I'm not aware of a lot of shit, but that doesn't mean it's not so. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm sitting in my construction site.
How is that project going? Let me say this. I have very, very, very much enjoyed seeing your social media, your Instagram feed just populated with visions of like sledgehammer destruction.
It's so fun. I can't tell you how fun it is to destroy stuff with a sledgehammer. It's my first time, and it's a joy. It's an absolute joy.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
Are you sore?
No, I was in pretty good shape to start with. My legs strangely got sore. I think from just climbing up and down ladders all day and
right
stuff like that.
Real quickly for the podcast, you explained to me what you're doing, and I saw a short video on your social, but tell the story of your porch.
Well, first of all, let's...
explain what you're doing. Yeah,
I was living in New York. I have been living in New York for a long time, and I got so tired of the shutdown and not having any concerts to play that I thought I'd get me a project. I bought a very cheap house in a fairly poor neighborhood in my hometown of Wichita, Kansas, and it's an absolute mess, and I'm fixing it up and living in it. I have 2 folding chairs and a folding table. That's my only furniture, and a mattress. The porch was about to collapse on our head, so the roof over the porch, because I don't know who built that porch, but it was not supported right. It was on top of half rotten plywood, and there was absolutely nothing underneath the plywood. So these columns, if you can imagine, just pushing into the rotten plywood, bending further and further every year, and it was sinking by like 5 inches. So we've jacked it up now on stilts. It was exciting. It's safe now. It looks terrible because we destroyed all the old columns, and now it's just on a bunch of pipes.
Right.
And I haven't figured out how to rebuild it. I just wanted it to not fall on my head, because that's not fun.
That'd be bad.
That would be bad, yeah.
So
I mean, I don't use my head much when I do music, but it's it would still hurt.
Did you give up your apartment in New York?
No, I'm renting it out.
Oh, good.
It was hard to find anybody. No one's going to New York right now looking for an apartment.
Did you find someone to rent it that plays piano? Because I know you have that piano in there.
I locked up that room.
Oh, that's probably good.
And all the stuff I didn't want her to have access to, I just locked up in my piano room. So she...
Right.
Nope.
You're from Wichita?
Yeah, from a little town called Mays, outside of Wichita.
How'd they come up with that? Just kidding.
It is spelled that way, Maize, just like that, like you would expect.
Yeah. And so was this a project that you just thought up on your own, or was there someone that encouraged you where they're like, hey, you should get the hell out of town and come here and do this?
No, it was none of that. I just always enjoyed doing home improvement projects, and I kind of ran out of them in my apartment. I kind of figured my New York apartment looks good enough, done. And I was wanting to visit my family, but not stay under the same roof with them. You know, they're afraid of me bringing the virus from New York, the epicenter. And I was thinking, I don't want to stay in a hotel. That's depressing. Stay in a hotel on my own, and I'll be bored out of my mind. I have to stay busy. I always have to stay busy. And so I don't know how did I arrive at this? But anyway, staying busy and having a place to stay meant buying an extremely cheap house.
Is it tacky for me to ask how much you were able to pick a house up for?
$45,000.
Really?
Yes, it is. It costs 30 times less per square foot than my apartment in New York.
And so, this is going to keep you busy. And I mean, first and foremost, at a time when you're not able to otherwise work doing music much, I'm sure you probably get some tracking gigs here and there. Yeah.
Well, yeah. The most fun thing I've done was your video, the video that you and I just did with Oscar and Dalia. And did I pronounce her name right? How do I pronounce her name? That was fantastic. I can't wait for you to put it out there.
Super duper fun. You guys all absolutely crushed it. We don't talk about what song it is because this will come out before the video.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That I didn't say it. You could have edited it out.
Sneaky surprise.
Okay, podcast listeners, the name of the song is
But I guess what I was going to say is that at a time when you otherwise would not be playing gigs and living the life that you love and are accustomed to, this is something that's going to keep your mental health like ship
absolutely shape. It's just kind of like staying in the same apartment every day there in New York without even the opportunity to travel to all these shows. My band was supposed to play shows in Iceland, Israel, Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Dominican Republic, Mexico. All those got canceled.
Right.
Or postponed, supposedly.
Right. Same thing when it's more than a few months as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And aside from it being something to keep you busy and occupied and keep your mind and hands and body engaged, is the housing market there such that it will more than
I'm not going to be able to
break
flip it for much. I'll be able to sell it for more than I got it for, but it's not going to be much. I'm being real careful about not spending too much money fixing it up.
Right.
Yeah, this particular neighborhood is not going to sell for a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's going to keep you busy and keep you happy and occupied, and that's
And
good.
it's
Isn't it?
certainly a learning experience, let me tell you that.
How how deep into restoring are you? Are you going down to the studs? Are you doing wiring? Are you?
No, the wiring is all healthy. The walls are kind of a mess, but we can fix those up.
Mm-hmm.
The porch is the main thing. Going to have to rebuild it from scratch, completely from scratch.
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna redo the porch, throw some paint in there.
Yep. Got to fix all sorts of holes in the walls. It's old plaster and stuff. Gonna fix up the floors. So beautiful old walnut floors. They look great, actually, already.
So you'll sand them and refinish them, or you'll just
Yeah,
oh,
that's the
nice.
idea.
Yeah.
I'm kind of improvising this whole thing. I really don't have any idea what I'm doing. I'm way over my head with all this. So
And are you doing the bulk of the work yourself? Or you're
yeah, I had a
that's
couple of friends over yesterday. That was very helpful to, for supporting the porch. That was pretty heavy duty work. And we cleared out 1,750 pounds of trash.
trash.
Well, I mean, not like household waste, but like old furniture in the garage and useless lumber that no one would ever want to use and just
Right.
crap.
Old toilet seats.
Yes, the drop ceiling. Actually, that's not true. I put the drop ceiling out on the street and someone knocked on my door immediately and wanted to have it, install a drop ceiling in their own apartment.
It was very courteous of them to even ask.
Yeah.
In New York,
and
you put something on the sidewalk to load into a car and it'll disappear. People just,
absolutely. And so I've been making a habit of anything that could possibly be of value to anyone, I put in the front yard and it gets picked up real quick,
yeah,
which is the ultimate recycling.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just discovered one of these, what is it called? Maybe it's called re-cycle, up here. It's one of the Habitat for Humanity
Oh, yeah.
things.
Very,
That's
very
just,
cool. Very cool service. I know of it.
yeah. I've seen them and visited them in Seattle and in Portland, but never out here. And there's one not far from my house. So
Where do you live again?
I live outside of Hudson, New York.
Well, that's right. Oh, it must be beautiful.
It's great. It's farm country, same.
Hmm.
So I grew up in the country, so I'm accustomed to a little bit of farm smell.
Got it. Yeah.
So occasionally you get some cow smell, you know? There's a dairy
So
farm not far.
not where I'm at right now, by the way. I grew up in farm country, but this is like right in the middle of town.
Yeah.
It's a town of 400,000, so I mean it's not a tiny city, and yeah, it's urban in a Midwest sort of way.
I wonder, surely I've been to Wichita, but for the life of me, can't remember
You
being
would have,
there.
if you played in Kansas, you're most likely have played Lawrence, Kansas.
I
Did
definitely
you
have
do,
played Lawrence.
and maybe Kirby's Beer Store in Wichita?
That sounds very familiar to me.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty certain that I played there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And so, did you play there a lot growing up?
No, not at all. Not at all. The whole rock music career started much later. For me, I was just a kid who took piano lessons and went to Boy Scouts and played soccer, and having piano lessons was one of those things that I
Right.
did, childhood activities. It was not that big of a deal to me.
It was not like this is what I want to do.
Dude, it's like so I was most passionate about three bands: Zeppelin, AC/DC, and Journey. And I didn't give a crap about the piano playing in Journey. I just loved Neil Schon on the guitar. And I didn't even, as a kid, I didn't even notice the keyboards in Zeppelin. And of course, in AC/DC, there are none. So I got some guitar lessons when I was maybe 13, and the dude just wanted to teach me jazz scales. And I was so turned off by that I just quit and then never learned to play guitar, really.
Right.
And then it never occurred to me to try doing it on the piano because I was never attracted to piano rock music.
Right. And what this is, I love this so far. I'm eager to get to how it transitions. So, so you're taking like classical, I'm assuming classical piano.
Just weekly piano lessons, and I literally practice 30 minutes right before each lesson, once a week, so 30 minutes per week. And it was always good enough to satisfy my teacher, so I didn't make a whole lot of progress musically throughout my teenage years.
So you just were slopping along, and then what happened?
It's a really crazy story. It's just fortune. I don't know, happenstance. There was a piano recital in my senior year where like maybe 5 of us students played some tunes. And then the second half of the concert, this professor of piano from Wichita State University came out and played for us. He was like the guest artist.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards he approached me and asked me where I want to major in music.
Just like that.
I said, I don't plan on majoring in music. I'm going to major in business at Kansas University. And he said, well, he's about to go to Arizona State and to become a new teacher there, and he needs students, and he could get me a full tuition scholarship.
Wow.
And as soon as I got home, I just kept thinking about it. I thought that would be so cool to get away from the parents, go all the way to Arizona.
And so that's what you did, clearly.
That's what I did when I got the little contract. Is just 1 paragraph contract for the scholarship. It said I have to take 7 hours of music per semester. So I thought, hell, I'll just major in business anyway.
Right.
I don't know why I wanted to major in business. It's just like I didn't have any passions. I didn't care. Right. So it just seemed like something to do because, I don't know, business, that kind of covers a lot of stuff. You know?
Yeah, it's a real blanket degree, right?
Yeah. And the students there at Arizona State were so slow and stupid in the business program. I couldn't handle it. I was stuck in a class with 700 people asking the dumbest questions I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
And I just said, screw this. I'm just going to do the music stuff then, because I was getting really good suddenly, because I was suddenly practicing and I had a good teacher. And then I decided I'm going to become a world famous classical pianist, not knowing that you can't just decide that at age 18. It's like, I'm going to go to the Olympics and win a gold medal and start ice skating at age 18. It's
right.
just not going to happen.
Right. I'm Baryshnikov next week. Probably not an option.
Yeah.
Certainly not for me. I mean, I don't know if I'm built for it.
I think you are. You look very graceful.
I'm a little top heavy. And so that's incredible. I mean, how many people do you think have no desire to be a professional musician until they go to college to pursue a degree that is only they only perceive as a vehicle to some other thing?
It's very strange, but let me tell you, within the first year of studies there, I became really, really passionate about the whole thing, and I just dedicated myself to it full force. I was practicing like 7 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there you studied classical, you studied jazz also?
No jazz at all.
Classical.
Just classical, that's right.
Do you play
Read what's
jazz?
on the page and play it. No, I don't play jazz.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't. It's just like
it's a completely different way of thinking. it blows my mind when I see good jazz musicians. It's a language that I don't speak, but I love hearing it, and it blows my mind, and I'm impressed by it. But I don't speak that language.
Right. You mentioned read and perform music, and that's it. And I remember when my first instrument was trumpet, and I came to play trumpet in the grade school band, right? And I played up until the ninth grade when I got my first guitar, and then I was like, "Woof, I'm out of here. Thanks. See you guys later."
Yeah.
And
I don't blame you. Listen, the electric guitar is the single most awesome invention of the last 150 years in music. It's amazing. It's a
probably
full orchestra at your fingertips. It like replaced an 80-piece string orchestra.
I love it.
Yeah,
And
I don't blame you.
I
And you
was
get to run
always
around while
pretty cool.
playing it.
I mean, do you have a guitar?
No,
You should
I do
get
not.
one, man.
One time I did play accordion in a Irish punk band.
Really?
Like one time I subbed for him, and I don't even like that music, but it was the most fun I've ever had on a stage. Oh my God, it was crazy.
I'll bet.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
little bit oompa loompa kind of sounding music, but it's I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I don't even
I don't
drink,
know. This
so
is more like Dropkick Murphys,
right.
like
Gotcha.
heavy shit. It was
I
awesome.
gotcha. Yeah. So the thing that bummed me out about the trumpet, because later I became interested in it, but in school, the focus is so much on, reciting the information that's on a page, and there's no emphasis put on being creative with your
Correct.
instrument. There's no emphasis put on improvisation, and so I never took a trumpet solo.
Mm-hmm.
I never even learned how to play an Earth, Wind, and Fire song, and I would have loved to learn how to play an Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Now, so you're like me then. You liked Earth, Wind, and Fire back then?
Back in high school, I was interested in hard rock music mostly.
Oh, okay. So then you're not like me. Oh, I'm not trying to say I'm interested in Earth, Wind, and Fire, but I'm saying I heard this music that I like, and it never occurred to me to try to play it on a piano.
Right.
I just separated the two. There was piano lessons on the one side, and there was the music I listened to on the other. They were two completely separate things.
Right. But as we both know, there's plenty of piano and keyboards and everything else, synthesizers and all kinds of rock music.
There is, and I did not notice it. I was always listening to the drums and the guitar, always. I don't think I even noticed that Led Zeppelin had a singer. I was so focused on the drums and the guitar.
It's pretty hard to get past those two elements of that band. But I think that John Paul Jones really delivered some awesome mellotron parts, and
he did, and he's one of the greatest all-around musicians in rock history. He's so amazing, but it's just not as colorful as John Bonham's drums and Jimmy Page's guitar.
Right.
Well, how can it be?
It's a little more nuanced than those things, I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of times as music enjoyers, we need to be hit over the head, listeners, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially teenage boys.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, in high school, all I cared about really was shredding. Although I liked Prince, and I was into some other like classic rock and some newer folky kind of stuff, but mostly I was into shredding because it was something that I felt like I could understand, even though I never quite got it.
So Van Halen style shredding.
Oh yeah, Van Halen and David Lee Roth band. After that, he had an amazing band, and like any of that stuff, any of the stuff with fellas wearing spandex and big tall hair and lights and explosions. Like I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. How'd you feel about Kiss?
Uh, I love Kiss to this day.
Yeah, I never got into them. It's I don't know. It's somehow I missed out on loving Kiss. I don't know why.
It's you know what I'd be interested in hearing your opinion after we are done. If sometime during the week when you're hanging out and you're working and beating your house up, listen to the Kiss album The Elder. It is the most despised of the entire Kiss catalog,
Okay.
but it's really an interesting record. It's like people are going to roll their eyes and make fun of me for saying this, but it's a daring record. It's it's like it's a post Queen type of record, so it's
Wow.
you know what I mean? It's certainly I don't know if it's influenced by Queen, but there's a lot of orchestration on it. It's very dramatic. There are movements. It's I don't it's a fake, it's a soundtrack for a movie that doesn't exist as far as I know. I'm not a super Kiss historian, but it was a hated album when it was released.
Were they
But
trying to make their own Sergeant Pepper's kind of like,
I think they were trying to be artists,
yeah.
you know,
Okay.
and not.
Had they already removed their makeup? I know they had a phase where they removed their makeup.
I think that within 2 albums of The Elder, they had their makeup off. I think Unmasked came after, and then Creatures of the Night, maybe.
Hmm.
Someone is surely going to be rolling their eyes at my chronological Kiss knowledge, but I'm pretty sure that's how it went. But you should listen to those. I think I love that record, and every time I go to put a Kiss record on, eventually I get bored, right? And then I think, oh right, The Elder, and I put it on, and I just you can't expect rock and roll all night or Detroit Rock City. It is not that Kiss.
Hmm.
This is Kiss. This is like a Meatloaf record basically, It's
Wow.
like no, for real. It is something else.
I may go beyond just listening to The Elder because I have this thing. What I've been doing during my renovations here is like to listening to discographies. So just listen to the Zeppelin discography, the Stones discography, and the Beatles discography just now. Haven't got past Tattoo You yet with the Stones, but yeah, just to really hear the stuff in order and hear how the bands develop. It's just stuff I've done it before, but I'm kind of doing it again, and it's a really fascinating study. It's fun.
Do you enjoy to read rock biographies or autobiographies?
I have not done much of that.
That's because one thing that I find myself doing is while I'm reading or listening to the audiobook of an artist as they're talking about a time in their life or making a record, I'll usually stop and I'll listen to the record and then I'll go back to the book to try and sort of like refresh the stuff in my mind. And sometimes they'll talk about details of, making the record or weird little things, It's
That is
cool.
very cool.
It's
I
pretty
like
cool.
that.
Yeah. Um, Highly recommended. Audiobooks also obviously your friend right now if you're working a lot, it's something you can. I drive a lot. I'm behind the wheel, so
Yeah, my Bluetooth headphones broke. I'm gonna have to buy a new pair, so I
yeah,
haven't been able to listen to that stuff.
right.
Can't listen to it over speakers when you're working, just because it's like if you miss too much information, it's just no fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what what was the best thing about going to Arizona for your music studies? Was it your actual music studies? Was it being away from home and perhaps becoming an adult, perhaps not. We don't all become adults in our late
True.
teens, early 20s.
It was being exposed to different cultures, Besides, okay, first of all, the music studies. Secondly, the piano teacher I ended up studying with, because I actually left that first one after he recruited me to go over there. It was quite a scandal. Um, I went to a different teacher, and he is Brazilian, and he had a bunch of Brazilian students. And I just never talked to a foreigner before. In Kansas, we don't got a whole lot of those.
Sure.
So it was fun just to be exposed to different parts of the world.
Right. Uh, was it weird at first? Did you have any like was there hesitation? I mean, I grew up in a culturally isolated place, and so I was excited to get out of there as well. But, you know,
Yeah. No, I had no hesitations about these guys.
yeah.
They were fun. And so I was a good soccer player for a Kansan of my generation. And all these Brazilians call themselves terrible soccer players, but of course they were amazing compared to Americans. So I could play like soccer on the weekends. It was great.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, and so you were there. Did you graduate?
Yeah.
Nice.
Got
Good for
my
you.
bachelor's in piano performance.
Wow. And then, and you've been rich and famous ever since.
Not even close.
They just hand you the keys to the city
Exactly.
with that. You roll into New York and you show them your diploma, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Step right in."
That's right. Everyone's wanting to see that diploma.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've never once ever been asked about my degree ever. I mean, except you asking me now and people just asking out of curiosity, but never has a person giving me a job cared.
Do you have it framed?
I don't even know where it is. I didn't even go to graduation.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was a university of 44,000 students, so I don't know, maybe 7,000 students graduated that year or something. I didn't want to stand around while they read off 7,000 names.
Right. I don't blame you.
I'm probably exaggerating with it. I know it was 44,000. I don't know how many are in a graduating class, though. Whatever.
That's a lot, and it sounds like a burden to me.
Yes, yes.
Uh, well, if you find it, you could frame it. You could get 2 frames, and you could put your Couch Riff certificate in the adjoining frame. You could get a diptych frame.
I love my Couch Riff certificate.
It brings me probably more joy to sign those things and send them off than even the surprise joy that each recipient gets when they open it up and they realize what kind of a person I am.
I was a little disappointed that I didn't get any gold stars, though.
Well, this is a serious operation. This isn't primary school, Brandon. This is
Okay.
this is that was a real, you know, that was a real certificate. I didn't print that off at home. I have those printed, man. You know, this is,
I'm speechless.
it's commercially printed. It's a pretty ridiculous project because I probably spend $20 per participant. So I'm like I go so far in the hole making every video that I will never break even, probably. Certainly not
Yeah.
with the number of videos that I'm getting ready to put out.
Wow. Yeah. You're really prolific. You put out a lot of material.
I don't know. I have to do something. I'm not gigging. I haven't been gigging for a very long time. Um, so it's for me doing this and doing those videos, and I'm working on my solo record is an opportunity for me to be productive again. And
How far along are you on your solo record?
I have I have drums for 7 songs done.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say how many songs I'm going to do, but it will be many. It'll essentially be a double album
Oh, wow.
concept.
Well,
My first solo album is a double album concept album.
I am looking forward to hearing it very much because I absolutely loved what I heard from Union Gospel.
Those are the most details that I've given up about this. I've talked about it a bit on the podcast, but that is the most I've ever said about it. So when you got done in Arizona, what happened then? Did you go back to Kansas and get a job at Tasty Freeze, or did you go straight to New York?
You know, they didn't want to have me at Tasty Freeze. I did apply, but they just didn't want to. It's actually Dairy Queen in Kansas.
You have
ignoramus.
experience on the fryer, and you were like, "No, I don't want to burn my fingers." And they're like, "Sorry."
So what happened was I wanted to just keep going. Hadn't reached world fame yet, so I wanted to get a master's degree in classical piano. And I figured New York City was the place to go. I applied it and auditioned at Juilliard, Mannes, and Manhattan School. I got accepted at Mannes and Manhattan School, didn't get accepted at Juilliard. Probably no wonder, probably didn't play well enough. But I did get accepted to the other two, and I just realized the tuition is so high. There's no way I could ask my parents to help me with that.
Right.
Because first of all, my dad hated me studying piano in the first place.
Is that right?
Yeah, he wanted me to be an electrical engineer.
Does he do that?
No, but he really wanted me to be an engineer or a doctor or something like that. He grew up during the Great Depression, so he, you know.
Yeah, you want to have a trade.
Say again?
Yeah, the previous generation, they were very trade focused, and make sure get your 401k, make sure you got your all of it.
Yeah, and it's understandable as well, I think. Well, then that first teacher who got me the scholarship and who I abandoned after one semester at Arizona, he came back again to me and offered me another scholarship to Rice University, where he was about to become a teacher.
Get the fuck out of here, really?
I know. I can't believe he was able to see past me just leaving him like that. And I just thought, man, after Kansas and Arizona, I can't go to Texas. I got to get out of cowboy country. So I suddenly had this amazing epiphany that I should call this guy in Germany. So there was, while I was at Arizona, my teacher left for a semester and made a teacher exchange with this German guy. So I had lessons with this German guy, and I vaguely remembered him saying, if I'm ever interested in coming to Germany, I should just call him. And so I called him, and he says, yeah, do it. You're in. It's like, what do you mean I'm in? He says, well, I'm the head of the piano department, so you'll be fine. You're in. And then I asked him, okay, what's tuition cost? He says, there's no tuition. It's like, geez, I'm getting a scholarship. He said, no, it's not a scholarship. Okay, well, what does tuition cost? There's no tuition. And that just kept going in a circle. And I finally understood Germany doesn't charge people tuition to go to college.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just get that.
Yeah.
You just get an education.
So the reason more Americans don't do that going over to Germany is because there's a really rigorous language, German language requirement for every form of study except for music and dance.
Really?
So you would have to be a fluent German speaker to study engineering in Germany, for instance. But I just went over there speaking English and started majoring in music over there. Getting my master's.
So that's another 2 years.
Yes, it was. No, it was 9. Not the studies. It took me 2 years to get my degree.
Yeah.
But I ended up staying a whole lot longer because I started getting work all the time.
Oh, amazing. So did you actually live in Germany for 9 years, or is that a no joke?
I lived there for 9 years. Then I came back to the States for a few. Then I went back to Germany for another 8 years. So I spent 17 years of my life over in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Wow. Here, here's the thing. The first time I went to Germany, I was like, I don't know. I just didn't get it. But the more I went there, the more I really grew to appreciate it and really enjoy it. And man, some of the Gothic architecture is amazing, and
No
people
kidding.
are super cool. Um, I really like Germany.
They're so reliable and so good too. We had my band was just there for a month and a half touring. We had the same stage techs with us the entire time, a German team. And my God, they were good. They were so good and so reliable and so caring and so meticulous. It was wonderful.
And so you can speak fluent German?
I can.
That's pretty fancy.
It is. It's
Uh,
not. It's not easy because they all know how to speak English, and they're always, "Oh, I speak English. We can speak English together." And it's like, oh,
you're like, yeah, but it'd be great if I could practice my German here.
oh,
Keep the
we could do the
gears
rest of the
greased.
podcast in German.
Oh
Turn
no,
off all your listeners.
it's not a very sexy sounding language, right?
That's correct.
Like French or something.
That's a fair assessment, I would
I mean,
say.
German, Dutch, these languages they're a little hard. They have like some guttural, throaty sounds that, you know,
They do, but once you get over there, you realize I mean, the German speaker we hear most growing up are like SS officers on TV and
right, of
in films,
course.
and they're all
Shouting,
screaming because they're like military officers. So people don't really talk like that,
right.
thankfully.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course. Uh Incredible. Where did you live there? I imagine you lived in a few places.
Oh, lots of places: Hamburg, Lübeck, Cologne, Zurich, Vienna. That's it. Yeah,
I think
that.
I've been to all those places. Cologne's
So cool.
amazing, right?
Touring with your band?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, Cologne is amazing, right?
Oh yeah.
Uh, we toured through former East Germany, and it's still, there are some places that are still pretty rough, man. They haven't
Absolutely.
quite. I mean, it's kind of like Rust Belt,
Oh gosh,
here.
that is the best. That's the best comparison I've ever heard. That's exactly what it's like.
Walking around, it was a bit like, oh, right. You mean they don't just take the wall down and everything's great?
Nope.
Crazy. Imagine that. Um, yeah, crazy. So, what kind of work were you doing when you were there?
Well, they have so all the towns over there in Germany have a really thriving theater scene. It's supported by tax money as well, and strangely, it's the Conservative Party who is wanting to fund the arts the most. Um, Quite the opposite of here. It's very strange, and so the town I was in, Lubeck, had a three-part. I'm not sure what you would call it here, but it had a full orchestra and with an opera program, an acting ensemble, and a dance ensemble. And the the acting ensemble needed some music for one of their plays, so they asked me if I've ever written music for before, and I'm like, yeah, sure. I never had. I just jumped into the deep end and started writing music, and that they really loved it. So they kept hiring me for stuff. Do you play accordion, Brandon? Yeah, sure. And I went out and bought an accordion.
Right.
And in that one, it was a horror comedy. I was dressed as a woman with really garish makeup, singing cowboy songs, playing accordion with my deep voice. It was very, very strange.
It sounds great.
Oh, it was wonderful. It is wonderful. So I learned how to be a stage performer and be versatile from that. And that was more of an education than my actual education was.
Right. And so was your experience in theater there what brought you back to New York?
Well, kind of. Yes. So this particular theater also then had, like the opera program, and they also produced musicals. And at some point, they asked me to play the piano part in West Side Story. So I started working my way up in the musical theater world. Then I got an offer to tour the United States with Rock of Ages. And that's how I came back.
So you went from doing...
That's not true. I just skipped a decade of my life. Can we rewind a little bit?
Yeah, let's, hey.
Oh, that was very effective.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I just, I started writing music, as I told you. And I decided I'm going to found a punk pop band where I'm the singer and guitar player. So I taught myself enough guitar to do this, and it was a 4-part band, so 4-piece band. So there was another guitarist, and I put out an album of that stuff, and I decided now I'm going to go to America and become famous as a rock star.
When you say pop punk, you mean like Green Day or Weezer or like...
Absolutely, a little bit more like Weezer.
Yeah. Great. I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a band. I think they're from... Where are they from? They're from Kansas or Missouri called Ultimate Fake Book. Do you know this band?
I don't. That's a good name.
Oh, they're fucking great, man. They're like that. They have a little bit of like Elvis Costello, but with, distorted guitars. And if you like that stuff, I think you would like them.
They've been around forever. For sure. So, yeah, I had a band there in Germany for a while. We played a few shows, and then they all quit one by one, saying, "Oh, it's just too fast and loud."
Did you know them from the theater?
No. These were rock musicians who'd never done theater before. I don't know how I met them. Oh, I was introduced just through contacts from person to person. We had Sony was speaking to us about a record deal and stuff. Then they changed the A&R, and then they forgot about us.
Yeah, that's common tale, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so these guys, your band, they were like, it's too raucous.
Yeah, and they probably wanted to do stuff where they're actually earning money for some reason.
So selfish.
What's wrong with them?
So selfish.
I know. I agree. They should be doing my music that I wrote and get all the credit for. That's what they should be doing with their lives.
So you were like, I'm going to take my awesome album and my elementary guitar skills, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to shred America.
And I ended up by accident because, I decided to go to New York to give this a try. And an old college friend said, "Hey, I know a guy looking for a roommate in Williamsburg, Brooklyn." So I ended up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn at the height of the hipster craze in 2001. Mm-hmm. And no one gave a shit about my music because, it was all...
Because they were off on the... Yeah.
It's all about Casios and, hipster music, which I'm not wanting to denigrate that, but it was very, very different from Weezer-esque pop punk.
Right.
So I totally flopped in New York, couldn't find a job. This is right after 9/11. Ran out of money and went back to Germany and earned money there. And then I came back to America,
Again.
and I've been back since. And that was because of Rock of Ages, the musical.
And how does one get hooked up with Rock of Ages? Just from you played with someone in Germany and they came back and they were the MD or something, the musical director?
Exactly like that. He was an MD on a show I had done in Germany, and he was an American.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up going to New York, and he became a supervisor for Rock of Ages, and then he hired me.
Huh.
So through connections, all those big musicals in Germany, not all of them, but about half of them have origins on Broadway. And so the supervisors are Americans, sometimes Brits from the West End,
Right.
who end up going over there. And so that has this strange bridge then.
And so you came back. Did Rock of Ages started on Broadway?
In Los Angeles in a bar.
Oh, really?
Then Las Vegas. I wasn't part of this at that time. This is before my time. And then off Broadway, then Broadway. Then first national tour of the United States, and that's where I became music director for that one.
You stepped in as the musical director.
Yes.
Crazy. But I mean, I suppose it's not that crazy considering how many years of experience you had.
It's it's kind of the ability to combine musical theater, just, I don't know, reliability and discipline with a feel for rock music is not a given.
Right.
So I tend to get those jobs, the rock musicals.
I love this career. It is like, it's not entirely different from a traditional approach to being a touring rock musician, but it doesn't really resemble it. When you were working in Germany, you slept at home every night.
That's right.
Which is amazing. But you played to, many different audiences week to week, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so how many nights did the show run in Germany, or shows run? Do they run?
Okay, I did a Queen musical called We Will Rock You. That ran I was part of it for like 3 years. So that's 400 shows per year. So I must have played it 1,200 times.
400 shows a year, which I don't know if my listeners know about calendar math. That's how many shows, because you're not playing every day. You're playing 2 shows some days, though, right?
Correct. 6 days a week, and 2 of those days are double shows. So that's 8 shows a week.
Saturdays and Sundays?
It's different from production to production.
Yeah. And when Rock of Ages was touring, you would tour, you would go to a town, and you'd be there for a week?
Yes, a week or 2 weeks. 2 weeks was always great because then you would have a Monday off where you were not traveling.
That's kind of awesome.
It's really awesome, yeah. And we got to stay in some really cool towns for like 2 weeks. Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles. One time I stayed there for 6 weeks with the show.
Wow.
Very, very cool.
That's such a different way to tour.
Oh, yeah.
Did you tour your band in Germany, or when you came to New York, you just played local New York shows, or have you done a traditional tour where it's like every night, different deal?
Yeah. I at some point I became a part of the official. There's this band, the Official Queen Tribute Band. I know it sounds strange, but Queen actually founded a tribute band to themselves.
I have founded a tribute podcast to myself. I just
You
can't find
deserve it.
I can't find anyone to host it and go make me money yet.
That would be the most awesome thing in the world.
I hope they can sell some ads.
Jesus.
That's incredible.
So yeah, that band, and then my new Queen tribute band. It's like night after night, different cities.
Right.
So get on the bus, go to the next.
It's amazing that you tour in a bus with a tribute band. I think a lot of people don't realize that, tribute bands can operate on that level.
Yeah, this one, our singer has this freakish ability to sound just like Freddie Mercury,
He's
and people
amazing.
lose their minds when he starts singing.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
And the band is dynamite.
Thank you.
That you were in the official tribute band before, and that's how you came on his radar?
Exactly. And then at some point, he and they grew apart, and he started doing his own Queen shows, independent of them. And at some point, I came together with him again.
Yeah, great.
Let me say his name because you guys got to check this out. His name is Mark Martel, Mark with a C. If you haven't heard him before, you'll be amazed.
No, you close your eyes and you won't believe it.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Oh, and what I love also is he doesn't pretend to be Freddie. He speaks with an American accent, well, Canadian American accent between songs.
Hey?
Yeah. And we don't dress up like Queen. We don't pretend to be Queen. So that's good. I would not dig having to wear a costume.
Right. You get up there, you deliver the goods.
That's it.
Right. I think that's cool. Was the other band costumed and
No,
lights
also not. So that's why Roger Taylor, the drummer of Queen, that's why he wanted to start that band. He wanted to have a really, really good Queen tribute band that didn't dress up.
Right. Was he in the original tribute band?
No, but he was the boss.
Really?
Yeah, and
I'll
he
bet
chose
Gene
the
Simmons,
set list and everything.
Speaking of Kiss, I'll bet Gene Simmons does that.
What do you mean?
I mean, he's got an official Kiss everything.
Ah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't.
Didn't
know.
There's like a Kiss fucking chicken wings restaurant, I'm pretty sure, in Las Vegas. Maybe it's pizza or burgers. It's something that's not really particularly good for you. It's not a
brilliant.
salad bar,
Uh-huh.
It's Vegas centric. Did you do a stand in Vegas? Did you say that?
Yeah, I've done Vegas quite a few times with both of these bands and also with musicals multiple times. So I know Vegas quite well, and I hate Vegas. It's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible place.
I think off the strip, it's not the absolute worst thing in the world, but yeah, it's a pretty vacuous.
I'm sure you're right. I have friends who live there and they're quite happy there. I just don't know anything outside of the strip, and I just really hate the strip.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. I did hitchhike there once from Barstow because the Grateful Dead was performing there, and I don't like the Grateful Dead, but you could buy psychedelic drugs in the parking lot, and so that's what I was interested in doing. I was young, and I did that. I bought some psychedelic drugs, took those psychedelic drugs, and walked around all night on the strip, just losing my mind, and then realized when I woke up in the morning, like I don't know if I hitchhiked there, but I think I took the bus back, so I had enough for the bus. But yeah, it was.
Was Vegas enjoyable during this trip?
No, not really. No, it was hot. I walked a lot, and I was sore for days afterwards.
I think mountains and forest and beach are better for something like that.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. 110%. Also, I had very short. I was in the Marine Corps, and
Ah, I
so
didn't know this.
I had high and tight, and I would approach someone in the parking lot. Are you familiar with the Grateful Dead parking lots? Have you ever
No.
Yeah, it's a pretty for all of the like peace and love, you know, platters that are held out, with these tie-dye shirts. It's a pretty sketchy deal. Like people are getting burned all the time, and it's just I don't know. For all the peace and love, there are plenty of guns in glove boxes. There's a lot of sketchy stuff. And anyway, no one would sell me any drugs for a long time. I would walk up and I'd say, "Hey, I'm looking for this or that," and they would be like, "Yeah,
It's
right."
because you were so clean cut that they wouldn't give it to you.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, right. You think I'm gonna sell? See, I'm gonna sell something to a cop?" And I remembered one guy said to him like, "No, no, 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 no. We're not cops, man. We're in the Marines." And he's like, "Fuck you, baby killer." That's what he said to me.
Oh no! Oh my God, are we back in Vietnam now?
No, for real. I was just like, if I was just like a gnat's cock more patriotic, I would kick your ass right now for
That's
calling me a
terrible.
baby killer, you dick. Anyway, I never killed any babies, as far as you
Oh
know.
no!
Um, anyway, it took me a long time, but finally I got some drugs. But I also got ripped off. I scored
Oh
twice.
wow!
Only one was a home run. Anyway, that's
Those appearances, they really make people behave differently towards you. I'm in a part of a neighborhood where if I'm dressed the way I normally dressed, which is fairly decent, right? They ask me for money, but now 90% of the time I'm in very dirty overalls with dust in my hair, and no one asks me for money.
right.
It's
People
great.
ask you if you're okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, exactly.
That's I love that. Do you have a truck out there? What do you?
No, I don't. I I am borrowing my dad's old Cadillac.
And you use the Cadillac to make runs to Lowe's or Home Depot?
Correct.
Oh,
I have a moving blanket on the back seat so I don't screw up his Cadillac. See, listen to that. That's hilarious because it's my dad's Cadillac. I didn't say fuck up his Cadillac. I cleaned up my language and said
right.
screwed up his Cadillac because it's dad's Cadillac.
Yeah, of course.
And I have friends with trucks. They help me once in a while.
Yeah.
They helped me
Awesome.
remove 1,750 pounds of trash yesterday.
So you put all that into the back of a dump truck or a couple of truckloads to the dump?
It was one truck with a big trailer.
Wow. There's nothing better there's no better feeling than getting rid of things, but a lot of times seeing your space open up and you're just like, I have all these boxes. It's like garbage basically that
Hmm.
you're holding on to just in life. Someone held on to all that shit in their life, right? Then they sold you this house, and then all of a sudden that shit was yours and you had no emotional attachment to it.
Correct.
So it was very easy for you to simplify that. Just
Yeah,
like,
sure the reason he held on to it was probably partly that is just the emotional attachment that he had to all those things.
right, this board I tore off of whatever, the door that was on Junior's closet, and maybe someday I'll make a shelf out of it.
He had buckets of paint in there with where the graphic design on the label makes it look like it was maybe early 60s or so. I mean,
Wow.
it's like you can't use paint that's 60 years old.
You can't use it if it's 6 years old.
Correct.
uh, The only bummer about all that stuff is, it's going to a landfill, and you just have to just let those thoughts leave your mind
Well,
because
but the thing is, it was just a few buckets of stuff like that, but it was mostly old wooden furniture of, I really think, of no use to anyone.
right.
And all the metal stuff really got taken away from people who need the money for, so it, yeah, I don't think we did too much harm. I feel good about it.
That's yeah, of course. Um, okay, so how long did you do Rock of Ages?
I did it twice. 1 year, then I was away. Then they needed some emergency help in the third year of the tour, so I came out just to save their ass. And the cast really liked me and just basically begged me to stay. And I said, no, I'm just going to stay until I train this new music director who's coming. And when the guy arrived, we came to find out that he had never once in his life played keyboard as opposed to piano, had never played standing up, had never conducted, had never communicated as a conductor over a camera. And he was just having a panic attack. And within 24 hours, he says, this is not for me. I have to go. And so I
Wow.
stayed another couple of weeks. And then eventually I'm like, okay, I'll take the job.
And it
And
probably wasn't the worst paying gig in the world, right?
no, it was good. It was good. And they allowed me to do my Queen tribute band at the same time because they really, really desperately needed me in this case.
Oh, that's great.
I'd never been in a position like that where I was trying to not negotiate, just like trying to walk away.
How how does the average musician get a get a gig like that? Like how does a drummer or a bassist come in to be involved in one of these productions?
A lot of times it's just person A says to person B, we really need a drummer. Do you know anybody? It's like, oh yeah, I did this wedding gig the other week and this guy was amazing and he's so reliable and so nice. Stuff
Just
like
like
that.
that. Yeah.
Just who you know and who you played with.
Man, I should have been more social when I was in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason I didn't get out much. I think I was a little intimidated about being out and trying to hustle and meet folks. And then the whole, rehearsing, the Union Gospel, rehearsing that was like, you know, hourly rehearsal spaces and paying people. And,
Yeah.
it's like, it was a baby band. It was a startup band. It wasn't like, an established, I've been in plenty of bands where they were existing bands and I stepped into a role and did it. In
It's
so
always
many
been a
ways.
miracle to me that any bands come out of New York. It's like, where do you practice? You don't have a garage.
Right. Yeah, no, it's
But
incredible.
I suppose the Ramones did have a garage. They're from Queens. They probably had a garage.
I'll bet they did.
Yeah.
5 years ago when I moved to New York, we I moved into my wife's weird little, whatever it is, 600 square foot, 2 bedroom apartment. The second bedroom was just like a walk-in closet, essentially,
Hmm.
right? You know the deal.
Sure.
And I didn't have a car, so I got a bicycle. I still have it. I ride it up here. I love it. It's got a giant basket on it. And actually, I built a bunch of shelves in that walk in closet. And I used that bicycle like a pickup truck. And I would ride to Lowe's or I'd ride to the local little lumber yard there in Williamsburg. And they'd cut stuff for me. And they cut custom lengths of pipe so I could, you know, build the shelves up. And uh, I would strap it onto my giant basket up in front, and I would I rode that down the streets in
Well,
Brooklyn.
how wide? What lengths of pipe? I mean, that's a good way to like knock people out on both sides.
No,
Yeah.
I had to be very, very careful. I wasn't splitting traffic or anything, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I ended up exploring Brooklyn quite a bit, and the first time I rode south down like below Prospect Park, down like Ditmas, and like when Brooklyn opens up and there are houses,
Hmm.
there are sidewalks and like houses with driveways. Houses
Yes.
in the traditional sense, like you see outside of New York, you see brownstones and this kind of thing
You mean
all
houses
over.
that are detached from the next house? There's actual
Detached
space around it.
detached single family homes.
Hmm.
I saw these for the first time and I was like, what the fuck am I doing over here? This is how you should be doing it. And it's what? It's like a 15-minute longer train ride. This is it.
It's gorgeous there. So beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great. But, we never did.
Yeah.
Instead we ended up here, which is I love it. It's great. But it's a little far from the city. You get
How often you get to the city?
almost never. As little as, I mean, at this point, I don't have a reason to go. If I, you know, if I had an active band or if I had some sort of a gig, well, we have that apartment still.
Ah.
In fact, we're going there tomorrow.
Oh, you're not renting it out?
No,
That
no.
sounds like a real waste of money. You're paying rent or you own it?
We are paying rent. Yeah, no, we're not those. We are
Yeah.
not in that class of New
Hmm.
Yorker where we own an apartment there. But it's a rent controlled place, so it's remarkably inexpensive.
Good. Good for you.
Christine has had it for 11 years.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's like South Williamsburg, like a
Oh,
block
yes.
a
In the
block off
Hasidic
of
neighborhood or close to that?
just a block away. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch that Unorthodox?
I didn't. I plan to, though.
It was great. We really, really, really enjoyed it. It was incredibly engaging and very. I think it was thoughtfully done, but and also like, so, I think achieved its intention. But I just thought to myself, there's no fucking way that they shot all this in Williamsburg, because you see all these street shots where you're like, hey, that's my block,
Hmm.
or hey, that's I do my laundry there. Whoa, that's crazy. But then all the inside shots, you're like, that doesn't look like one of those Hasidic tenement buildings at all. And so when I researched it, they actually shot all that stuff in Germany. Because there's no fucking way the Hasidics were gonna let them
Oh,
shoot that
goodness.
shit.
Is
I
is
think all
Unorthodox a work of fiction? Is it a series?
it is a work of I th- I want to say that it's a work of fiction based on a true story.
Geez, I see. I thought it was a documentary. I
No,
had no idea.
it's a work of fiction based on a true story, and I think that the story relatively follows this woman's life up to a certain point at which, it deviates from, the true story and becomes a work of fiction. Basically, it's like she grew up, you know, Orthodox and broke away from the church, met resistance. I don't think she even went to Germany. But strangely enough, she goes to Germany and she was taking in the series she's taking piano lessons, right?
Hmm.
And she goes to Germany and she meets these all these students there that are going to some music school there, and she gets it in her head like she's going to that's what she's going to do. And it's pretty cool. But there's a fun twist at the end. I'm not going to tell you, but you should watch.
I will check it out.
There's also a lot of weird shit, and there's a lot of character stereotypes that I recognize as stereotypes, but I also recognize they're stereotypes because there are certain things that I, you know, those stereotypes that I observed in that with folks that I encountered. It's so weird. Like the first time you were in New York and you saw a Hasid on the street, did it blow your mind? Like I had no idea that anything like that existed in
It feels like traveling back to the 19th century.
it's
It is so, it looks so old and old fashioned. You feel like you've been in a time machine. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it blew my mind. And it's like it's a pretty big community, and it's not just in Williamsburg. It's not even just in New York. Like it's interesting to me. It's
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting to me too. But so many things blew my mind about New York,
oh yeah.
being a Kansan. Uh, First time I saw children playing on the playground, it's like, what? People grow up here? They don't have yards? How's that possible? It's like this asphalt playground. It's like they're going to hurt themselves.
Right. Right. Did you grow up like jumping off of stacks of hay bales?
My family weren't farmers. Uh,
I mean, my family weren't farmers either, but I did. I was up to all kinds of shenanigans.
I was climbing trees
Yeah.
for sure,
Right.
tramping around in the woods.
Yeah. Are there woods in?
Generally not, but whenever there's a creek or a river,
Sure.
it's usually tree lined. And so my dad built a house on floodplain and raised the house high enough that it usually didn't get flooded. Sometimes, like once a year, you'd wake up and it'd be like we're on a boat of mud water.
Wow.
We're on a boat surrounded by mud water, is what it felt like. The Cowskin Creek is what it was called.
And did
It
you
would.
have a boat, or was your porch floating?
It was no. It was just. He built a little concrete wall about 4 feet high and filled it with earth, and then put the house on top of that. So a
So when the
berm.
water rose, how would you leave home?
The driveway was high enough that usually you could box through it with a car. There would be times where you'd be stuck for 48 hours. One time, my family got on the news because they had to be rescued by jet skis.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I never think about jet skis in Kansas.
Yeah, well, there's no lakes. There's not a single natural lake in Kansas, but there are reservoirs. So people have boats and jet skis to play on the reservoirs.
Not a single natural lake.
Correct. They only has rivers and creeks
Huh.
and reservoirs, dammed up rivers,
Yeah.
basically,
That is an
with
interesting
dead
factoid.
trees sticking out of it.
Yeah. I kind of like that.
It's weird.
Yeah. Um was that fun for you? Was it exciting to get on it was probably winter, right?
Oh, sorry. This happened while I was in college. Like my
Oh.
family got ripped. I just saw it on the news. They showed me a videotape of them being on the news.
You didn't even get to go on the jet ski.
I didn't. What a shame.
Have you ever been on one?
Nope. I
You
would.
know,
Sounds fun.
well, yeah, I spent a lot of my life, my younger life, when I got to Seattle, like wanting to escape my hillbilliness.
Where was that? The hillbilliness?
Uh, a very rural Washington state.
Got it.
Yeah, and a little logging town called Granite Falls. And so,
Hmm.
you know, uh, whatever. It was stupid. There's a lot of like weird put on like pretension trying to escape just who I am. Like
Yeah.
you can experience life and still be yourself. So, uh, in that regard, or to that end, like I just always thought like, well, fuck jet skis, man. Only assholes have jet skis and motorcycles, and you know what I mean. I'm going to have a bicycle and a notebook, a journal, and that's it.
Not a skateboard?
Nope. Fuck that. And so I remember the first time I got on a jet ski, I was like, man, I have wasted a lot of years.
Oh, it was immediately fun, huh?
No, it's incredible, man. Are you kidding? It's so fun. Have you ever seen anyone frowning on a jet ski?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It must be fun. It has to be fun.
No, it's incredible. There are certain things that I think, are associated with particular lifestyles. And you're like, yeah, but look, those folks, they're never miserable doing that. It's incredibly fun. I'll probably never bungee jump, but
I did that. I
you
did that
did?
in New Zealand just last year, and it was absolutely terrifying. I it seems like it took me forever to jump, but it was actually the exact opposite. The guy who was like explaining to me how it works, he says, "Okay, you're going to step forward and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1." He had to speed up the count because I was already jumping. And I didn't notice him speeding up the count. Seemed super, super slow when it was actually happening, but I saw the tape of it and I just jump. He's like at 4 and I'm already going. And oh my God, it was the most terrifying 1.5 seconds or however long it is. And the adrenaline rush stayed with me in a positive way. I just felt elated for probably 6 hours after that.
Well, it's such an unnatural thing.
Totally.
You're not supposed to bounce back.
Totally. It's so unnatural.
Was your initial descent, like your initial fall, was it I've heard that like your bounce back is almost greater that moment when you bounce back and you sort of suspended before you fall your second time. Do you
That's right. It's a series of terrifying. They become less and less terrifying as it goes on because it becomes less, obviously.
right?
And the bounce back, there's no whip at all at the bottom. It is so gradual. It's the deceleration just to where you almost come to a complete stop and then a slow acceleration coming back up. It's so smooth. And those things are just, I saw the inside of one. They cut one in half to show the cross section. It's just hundreds of rubber bands twisted into a braid. That's all it is.
Keep that fucking thing away from my dogs, man.
Imagine.
Were you on tour? Did anyone else from your band do this?
No, but we had. Oh, this is so wonderful. I love the team over in New Zealand. We've been there twice now. They sent with us a girl who just made sure we had fun activities to do.
That's great.
And the traveling crew was small. It was tour manager, sound, and but she was always there to make sure we were having fun if we needed to. And yeah, she organized the bungee jumping for me, and so she was there.
No stage manager or stage crew because there's no opening band and you guys just set your own stuff up. Is that?
There's always a local crew everywhere we go.
Uh-huh.
And so they advance the show and tell them what needs to be done. The instruments are rented.
Oh yeah.
So when we were in Germany, because it's a geographically fairly small country and we're doing city after city after city, we brought all our gear with us. But New Zealand and Australia are just enormously, those cities are enormously far apart.
Right.
And so we were flying
and
we just
far
rented
away from
instruments.
Here.
So keyboards and drums are rented in every city. Bass and guitar comes with us. The musicians just bring them on the plane. And there's a local crew. And often we don't have any crew with us, like
Right.
when we tour the United States.
Does your guitar player play a Brian May guitar?
Yes, he does. But it's It's made by a company. I can't remember the name of the company. They built it for Distorted Branch, I believe. They built it for him. It's a take on the Brian May guitar.
Gotcha. That's a guitar that I've had an on again, off again fascination with, where I'll go down the rabbit hole. And I've never, a number of brands have. Guild, I think, was the first one to make a Brian May model, a red special. And then Burns, maybe after that. And now he's got his own, imprint or whatever. I don't think
Yes,
he owns, but someone's making them and putting his name on them. I haven't played any of them. I've never even put my hands on one, but I just think it's a great looking guitar.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. And the way Brian May makes it sound is just phenomenal. It's so amazing.
Uh, I think he's one of the greatest.
He certainly is. Some friends of mine and I were doing a fun little playlist called the Most Metal Playlist. It's like the most metal thing at that time. So, like, Winter from the Four Seasons from Vivaldi was like the most metal thing at that time,
Right.
and just up through the ages. Then Rumble from 1953 or something.
Sure.
And then we thought maybe Stone Cold Crazy in 1973. That thing is
dude.
so heavy.
It is heavy. And there's like weird, hard stop palm muting in it.
Yep.
Like that. Do you guys do that one?
We were just about to add that to our set list, and then coronavirus took it away from us.
Right.
So we're ready to go. We're going to do it when we come back.
My old band in Seattle called the Chasers. We did a Queen tribute night once. There's a Queen tribute band in Seattle. What are they called? They're called Halloween. And I think that I don't know what the origin. I think maybe it started as a Halloween band. They don't play very often. Two times a year, 3 times a year maybe. It's like everyone's in a bunch of bands and then they learn the songs and brush up before the gigs but I think one year they didn't want to do the whole show, and so they were like, we'll play a handful of songs and then we'll have a handful of bands play 3 songs. And I'm probably going to screw this up, but we did Brighton Rock, which was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's a barn burner. Do you guys do that?
No, we don't do it.
Man, it was hard. But we did. What is the album with the sort of the guy doing the juggling on the cover?
Innuendo?
Yes. We did maybe in the heavy one. Yeah. What is that in the song Innuendo?
Yes, it is.
We did that, which was fucking great.
It's so epic.
The only thing that we did not do that we wanted to do was we wanted to have 2 acoustic guitars on stands that we could walk up to and play, but we had someone hand them to us because it was a tiny club. And then we did Killer Queen.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, I think some of the best guitar playing of all time.
On the song Killer Queen itself?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So do you think that you guys will just get right back to it as soon as possible when...
Hell, we're supposed to play Israel next month, and we're still waiting to hear. I think they've banned all travel from outside Israel, last thing I heard, so I don't know how the concert could go on. Are people going to come to concerts?
Right.
Regardless of what the laws are people going to want to go to a concert?
I mean, I wouldn't feel very comfortable at a concert.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable if they had social distanced sitting arrangements. Just kind of seems like when people start whistling and hollering and
Yeah,
it's like that's just like an aerosol hellscape.
it sure is. And then you're exposed to certain people around you for a long period of time. It's like when you're at Home Depot and no one is wearing masks there, not even the employees, unbelievably.
Right.
But you're going. It's pretty spacious, and you're walking by pretty quickly. I think I feel pretty safe. Well, I do feel pretty safe. I may be foolish to feel safe.
Right.
I think I had it back in Germany in mid-January.
You know, I think that I don't pay attention to the news much. Um but my wife just told me that there are near us drive-through testing places. They can see if you
hmm
have the antibodies or whatever. I think I
I
had it too.
I tested negative for the antibodies, but the CDC said something like those tests are about 50% accurate, which means it's just a flip of the coin. What's the point?
If it's 50%, I mean, I don't like those odds.
No.
I mean, there's a 50% chance that I could die during this podcast. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. That's right down the fucking middle. 50%?
Yeah, that's what the CDC said at some point. I don't even understand how, that means the test is totally non-functional if that's the case.
I'm not even going to waste my however much it is. I don't care if it's $5. I'm not going to waste my time and $5.
Yeah, look it up. Maybe they've gotten better. I don't know. I did my test a month ago.
Right. Um, I did just see something on a ticker tape that said Italy is reporting that their water treatment facilities were showing trace amounts of it from their lab reports from December. Um, at which,
Why were they testing their water back in December for coronavirus?
I think that they were like lab reports and water facilities and other food and beverage process, like packaging plants. You keep samples, you keep a library catalog of back
Ah,
samples so that you can go back and test. And I think
I
that,
just learned something today.
yeah, I can iced coffee up here. And so we have cans from, a year and a half ago. Some of
That
them,
sounds so country. Just hearing the dog bark from so far away just feels really country.
well, that is my dog, one of my dogs. They're animals, man. Uh, Personality wise, they're just like they're very sweet, but there's probably a squirrel outside the window, or my wife just pulled up on her bicycle, probably the latter.
Got it.
And they don't care who's on the bicycle. Could be me, could be my wife. They do not like bicycles, man.
Ah,
They don't
wonder
like.
why that is.
I don't know. They don't like bicycles. They don't like strollers. They don't like weird shit. They don't like backpacks. They don't like people who limp. They don't like canes or walkers. Like
Now
anything.
that is just mean.
No, my dog, you know,
That's
Rosie,
ageist.
Rosie is really really has a beautiful personality and she's such a lover. But if she sees someone walking with a strange gait, she is not into it. She is just like, what the fuck is that? It's I've never seen anything like it. And
That is a
it's
very strange thing.
embarrassing. It's like, fuck, man. You're making me look like an asshole over here, Rosie. Take it
Yeah,
easy.
you just got to yell, sorry, she doesn't like people who have a funny gait.
Yeah, she doesn't like weirdos.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, probably not. Uh how long do you think you'll work on this house?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I've never rebuilt a porch before. I didn't know that I would have to rebuild a porch. I thought I could just spruce it up a little bit. I
You
didn't
thought you
realize
could
it
live
was
your
just
whole life without rebuilding a porch.
yeah. And I don't know. Am I gonna love it so much once it's fixed up that I'm gonna want to live here in Wichita? I doubt it. But I don't know. I mean, it's nice to have my high school friends here. It's really cool.
Is it realistic for you to do fly-ins for your gigs?
Yes, it is because they're all nationwide and international, and never in New York, actually. The one thing that where I would need to be in New York is if I book another Broadway show. I did School of Rock on Broadway for 3.5 years. It was an amazing production. It was fun. And you have to live there to do that because it's like eight
Right.
times a week, you know?
That's a hell of a commute.
Yeah.
If you
Well, yeah, from Kansas, right? Yeah, but yeah, I can fly anywhere in the country from Kansas. It just takes longer because there's no direct flights from Wichita to hardly anywhere.
Right. What hubs in what is it? Southwest probably?
Yeah. Yeah, it
American?
goes so Wichita flies to Denver, Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas. I think that's it.
Let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
One of our concerns when we moved up here, and this will make you feel better about having connection flights. One of our concerns about moving up here was what's going to happen when we have to fly because we're 2.5, 3 hours from JFK. Well, there's Albany Airport, which is 35 minutes away. Okay. Well, the beautiful thing about it all is that if I have a 6 a.m. flight, I set my alarm for, you know, 4:45. I brush my teeth, I walk out the door with my backpack or my bag or whatever. I get to Albany in 35 minutes. I park the car and walk into the airport. It's like, it's just as easy as you could possibly imagine. I imagine Wichita's very similar.
Similar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no line at security. If there's two people, it's like a busy day. And you get in, I'm like from my front door to the gate in, less than an hour.
Yeah, it's the same here. Absolutely. It's a 15-minute drive from anywhere in Wichita to the airport or less. And yeah, no wait once you get there. It's super quick.
And, when we consider flying out of JFK because, oh, well, we have to have a direct flight, well, that just doesn't make any sense. I'd rather have a layover and not be engaged in operating a vehicle because it's just, while it's not like particularly exhausting or physically demanding, it's fatiguing, to drive for hours.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I love it. So I think you have a little slice of heaven right there.
You got a good point. And, yeah, LaGuardia and JFK, they are no joy. Have you been to LaGuardia since they fixed it up? They're still in the process, but it's
I mean,
beautiful.
Every time I've been there over the last 5 years, it's just various states of, painted plywood sheets.
I know.
Like
I always think when people go to visit New York City, it's like they either come through LaGuardia or the Port Authority bus terminal or Penn Station, three of the biggest dumps in the entire country.
Right.
And it's like, son, why do you live here? This place is terrible.
You only get one chance to make a first impression.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you this. Is your current sublet situation and your secured off room with your piano in it such that if you did have an extended gig, you could go and have an air mattress in that piano room, or could you sleep under your piano and continue to rent your apartment out so that you didn't have to
Well, then I would suddenly have a roommate. I'm not sure. I did sign a lease with her. That's not part of the deal.
Right.
Uh, Dude, if I booked a Broadway show, I could afford an Airbnb. I would just do that.
But if you could just, you know, if you could not spend the money, I'm always thinking about, well, I mean, I could afford this, but what if I didn't?
Man, that grand piano takes up a lot of room in
It
that little
certainly
space.
looks like it's. I was almost shocked the first time. I mean, from the things that I saw you post before, and then when we spoke, like I had no idea that was your apartment. And then when you told me that, I was amazed. It's
There-
incredible.
There's thank you very much. There's a lot of space in the other rooms
Yeah,
for my keyboards, but that particular piano room, the grand piano takes up most of the room.
that's great. Love that.
Yeah, I do have an extraordinary amount of space for New York City, but it's only 550 square feet. It looks way bigger because it has I knocked down a wall,
All right,
so it has a big open feel to it.
right. But I mean, for one person, that is great.
Oh yeah, and I'm fine with it.
In New York, you don't need more than that because you know maybe you
The pa-
spend
the
well,
park is your yard.
right.
The coffee or the bar is your living room. The cafe or the bar is your living room. That's just how things work there.
Not this year,
Nope, not at all.
which is why you're in Wichita.
That's right.
Man, I hope that I don't know. No matter what happens, I hope that you just continue loving doing what you're doing there on the house, and who knows? Yeah, maybe you will just decide hell with it.
Hell, maybe I'll become a real estate mogul, $145,000 house at a time.
You know, they say that there will be like just like 9/11. There's going to be an exodus of folks leaving. I mean, look,
They were wrong with
ev-
9/11.
well, a lot of people did. A lot of the city folks that live up and around here, they all bought their homes immediately. In the 2 years
See.
following, because they were like, well, you know, what are the odds of lightning striking twice? But I'm not really here to play the odds. Let's just have a place just in case.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of businesses, a lot of big companies are realizing, oh shit, we don't have to have these big offices. Why don't you guys just work from home? And then people are like, well, this is fucking miserable. I live in a tiny apartment because I'm close to your fucking office. Now what? And I think we're gonna
They will
see.
move to another city for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Or just outside of New York. We like being the proximity of New York. You know, it's that's nice. Even though, like I said, I haven't been back much. I like knowing that it's there.
Yeah, I think Hudson is just dreamy. I love that whole area.
Oh, it's beautiful up here, man. And I've been over to. I mean, I don't know if you give a shit about this, but over in Woodstock, there's a lot of funny hippy dippy shit that I don't necessarily go for, driftwood art and that kind of shit. But not really. But you get the idea. They don't
Yeah.
have driftwood there. It's the Catskills. But uh, there's the barn over there, um, and they have concerts there. It's so cool. I've seen a couple shows there. I love it. The Levon Helm place from the band.
I I always wonder how much that has affected their economy in a positive way. Having the name Woodstock, even though the Woodstock Festival never happened there.
Right. W- Um. Well, there's a long history of New Yorkers going up there, musicians and artists mingling with the hillbillies and whatnot. Um, and I don't know, it's cool. I like it. I think it's great.
Hmm.
And that's like, 40, 45 minutes away. It's basically like living in Brooklyn and taking the train to go see a show in town, right?
Do you do hiking?
Not really. I'm terrified. We ride our bikes a little. There's a new rail trail out here, and so that's great. Like I just said, my wife's just getting back from a bike ride, but
Nature can't possibly terrify you. You're from Washington State.
we don't have fucking ticks in Washington State. That will give
Ah,
you
yeah.
Lyme. I'm terrified of ticks, and we have those two dogs, which are tick magnets.
Yes. Are you terrified of getting Lyme disease, or are you just grossed out by the insects?
Uh, there are some weird insects up here, and
No,
I'm not
I meant ticks. Are you afraid of ticks or just afraid of Lyme disease?
Lyme.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, it sounds terrible. And especially, I mean, the first thing when the COVID thing first started being reported and they were talking about what it was, what it did, the first thing I thought was people up here that have Lyme are fucked because that'll attack your immune system. And it just seemed like a recipe for disaster. And I don't know what. I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not even going to act like I know. But that was terrifying to me anyway. Armed with that little bit of anti knowledge.
I've been bitten by ticks a few times. I remember over in Europe getting bit by a tick, and I was terrified because of Lyme disease. And the doctor told me, "Oh, we don't really have Lyme disease here in Europe." It's like, no, you have to take this out. And I wanted to have her remove it, and she started to remove it, and then she started gagging. And she says, "I'm sorry, I can't do this. I'm sending someone else in."
The doctor?
Yeah.
The doctor was gagging.
Yeah. So she told me not to
Wait a
tell
minute,
anyone.
where
So I'm
was
telling
it?
all of your podcast listeners.
Where was the tick?
I think it's just like on my arm or something.
Well, that's not gag worthy. I mean, if
Well,
it was
but
like on
the
your
tick
butthole
itself
or
made her.
something, it might be weird.
The 6 legs sticking out of my arm was just making her gag.
Well, yeah, that's fucking weird, man.
And his head is in your body.
Yeah,
What kind of sick insect is this?
pretty weird, man. Anyway, I don't want it. I never wanted it. And I never will.
I get it. I get it.
But yeah, I mean, there are some weird bugs up here outside of the ticks. There's like weird things that look like centipedes or millipedes, and they have a lot of legs. And the cool thing about having dogs is they usually play with the bugs for a little while and then they eat them.
So I know squirrels in New York City are so tame you can walk right up to them pretty much, and they don't run away until you're like 3 feet away. How is it up there in Hudson?
I've never been able to get close to a squirrel because my dogs want to eat them.
Yeah.
One of our dogs is they're both, by looking at them, you wouldn't go like, hunting dogs. But one of them is a beagle mix. And the other one is like a Jack Terrier mini dachshund mix.
Oh,
And
those
so,
are cute.
he's Mr. Big. And, these guys, they want to go after small critters. That's what they were bred to do. And they just...
Dachshund literally means badger hound.
Is that right?
Yeah, Dachs, Dachs means badger.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
Hund, hunt means hound.
So there are woodchucks up here, which are not badgers, but,
I don't think I've ever seen a woodchuck in my entire life.
they are fucking weird, man. We all know the rhyme, right? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck? But these things look like a cross between an armadillo and a beaver. Like they have the physicality of an armadillo, but kind of like a bushy, hairy tail and a rodent-like demeanor.
Ever since the planet started warming, the armadillo's been coming up to Kansas.
Is that right?
Yeah, you see them once in a while.
That's crazy. You guys should get woodchucks. See what happens when they intermingle.
Oh, that'd be a fun one. Maybe they would. Maybe they would say, "Wow, you look like an armadillo," and they try to mate.
That would be fun. It would be like a scale, like there'd be tufts of hair coming through the scales.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm into it. Sounds like a fucking horror film. So let's talk about this keytar thing again. I really think you should get a keytar.
You're right. I should. I need to run around stage. I just getting stuck there in the corner. It sucks.
I mean, it wouldn't even be about running around or doing backflips or whatever, or being able to do trampoline stage production moves, but so much as it fulfilling your rock guitar posture, because I know that appeals to you.
Oh, it sure does. Well, see, I usually play standing up in all my bands, like all of them, if I can.
Yeah.
And that's so much more fun for me.
Well, right, because you're rad.
Oh, I know I am. I just can't help it.
Do any of your old college co-students, friends, study partners, are you in touch with any of them? And do any of them think like, oh, you and your cute rock music career?
I went to the 80th birthday of was it his 80th? I believe it was, of my piano teacher. And none of the students that I knew showed up on that day, but there were several who were like studied right before me or right after me.
Yeah.
And they were all amazed. It's like, wow, you play 400 shows a year, or even you play 55 shows a year with the band. We did 55 or 65 last year. They just couldn't believe it because they practice and practice and practice and then play 3 recitals a year.
Right. And
Yeah,
then
so no, they were all very, very impressed, actually.
What a crazy like that's such an incredible difference of approach. Can you imagine?
It certainly is. And you know what's great? It's like I'm on stage performing all the time and I hardly have to practice. It's the exact inverse of classical music. It's so awesome.
That was what I was going to ask you. I've been in a number of bands where we did not practice. Like
Yeah.
I showed up for my first gig having never played on stage with anyone that was on stage in that moment. And with a lot of songs to play and just count it off and here we go. You just
It's, I suppose classical orchestras actually end up doing this. They read so well. Sometimes they are able to play at top notch without reviewing the pieces, and they just have one quick rehearsal. So they do have a rehearsal, but it's really quick read through, and then they perform in front of an audience, and it's amazing.
right.
So I was more talking about me as like a piano player. It's like if you're preparing a classical piano recital, that is so much work.
Right.
Because you can't fuck around. You can't just like play what feels good. You have to play what's written there, and it's hard.
Right. So let's flash forward into an possible / imaginary future where you live in Wichita and you're going to do a flyout gig. Like you guys do the rehearsing that you need to do at sound check.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We've never once had a rehearsal outside of sound check. These musicians just do so much preparation at home, and they're so top-notch professional. It always works.
I have only had just, the slightest taste of that life because I don't know. Certainly probably not on the guitar do I operate at that level. On the bass perhaps, but I know a lot of bands that's exactly how they operate, and I think that a lot of people listening have never had that experience. They've never shown up perform on stage in front of people without rehearsing with the other musicians.
And we are talking about brand new subs on the guitar who've never played with us before and who maybe haven't even met three of the other musicians. And yeah, then they perform. And so far, we've done a damn good job of choosing people, and they've been very, very good.
That is incredible. Really.
Queen is hard.
Yeah, no shit, man. That is
I was just saying you don't have to practice that much. Okay, Queen, you do have to practice more than a lot of other stuff. Like when I did a Tom Petty tribute show, I didn't have to practice hardly at all.
Right.
But it's still not as hard as Debussy and Beethoven.
What do you mean? What's the next thing you're going to do in the house?
Go out on my porch and drink a beer. While I still have a porch to stand on, I'm going to go out and stand on it and drink a beer.
Right. Have you had a beer with any of your neighbors? Has anyone come over and introduced themselves and said, "Hey"?
I've met them all. Haven't had a beer with them, but I've met them all, and they're very nice. I like my neighbors.
Cool. Well, listen, our video is going to come out in the next 2 weeks.
So long. I don't want to wait that long.
I know. I think, listen, you can't take offense to this. I have to call Deja. This episode is gonna come out. This conversation will be released on Wednesday. If you're listening to this, you already know that. I made a mistake. We already had a conversation. Like, you sent that video to me. I was confused, and I made, there's a steep learning curve for me because I've only ever done single camera or 2 camera stuff at the most, and that's really easy to cut between. I've never done split screen or a number of other things, right? Well, I am embarrassed to say I've spent probably 10 hours building, watching, and deleting and starting over. And I finally am at the point where I can't do it anymore. And I messed up pretty royally, and I deleted the last somehow. I think what I did is I think I know what happened. Like, I think you can highlight a section of a video to drag down into the timeline, and I did that, even though I thought that I didn't. And when I made a compound video, multi-camera video segment that I could easily edit between the different shots, and I didn't get the last 30 seconds of Deja's performance, and I am just like, I have to call her and tell her, you're not in the last 30 seconds of the video, and there's a very dramatic vocal part, but it goes into the guitar solo, which I'm very excited. I won't say who the guest is right now, but I'm very excited about his cameo, it's very cool. I think it'll surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people will be like, what, who? But the people that know him are going to be very, very, very excited and happy. Anyway, I'm really not looking forward to telling Deja that I fucked up, and I'm not going to fix it because I'll hang myself before I do it.
No, you're gonna fix it, right?
No, it'll take me 2.5 hours, and I don't, in my life right now, I don't have 2.5 or 3 hours for 2 3-second cuts that will appear.
I understand.
When I weigh out what it is, I think that she's a reasonable enough person that she's not going to be. She has a lot of camera time. She gets a lot of screen time. So, I do appreciate that. I wish that you would have just said, "Oh yeah, there's another video that I did what you did poorly. I did it right." But we had that whole funny interaction where I was trying to understand what you were talking about, and you were like, why don't you get it?
Yeah, it's I've learned over and over again, it's a mistake to send too many files. And yet I did it anyway to you. I sent you more files than I should have. I know you requested it, but I should have just pretended like I didn't hear you, and I should have just sent you the one video and the one audio.
Well, I think the thing is, when I cut it together, it didn't occur to me that it didn't occur to me that I could do split screen for a single player doing multiple parts, like multi-tracking a part. Like, oh, I could do that. And actually, when you sent me yours, I didn't know how to do that.
Mhm.
But later, when I was putting this thing together, I think I certainly saw yours, but I had, for whatever reason, dismissed it in my mind. But it planted a seed to where later I was like, oh, what if I do this? And
And it ended up looking very similar to mine, but I'm like, how did I end up in the middle instead of on the left?
Well, yeah, they were moved around. And then, so yeah, that was a little embarrassing. But I was just so caught up in trying to learn how to do everything.
Oh, I get it. I've been there, buddy.
I'm going grayer and grayer. Here's the thing. 2 episodes in a row, Logic. Do you use Logic?
Yes.
Maybe you know the answer to this. 2 episodes in a row, Logic has stopped recording
Ooh.
at 2 hours, 14 minutes.
Interesting.
And
we're about there, aren't we? We're very close to 2 hours and 14 minutes.
We're getting very close. I'm wondering if you know what that setting would be. That
there is a way at the top of the session where the timeline is. There's a way to drag the right hand thing over further out, and I can't remember how to do that. It's so unintuitive. I can't tell you offhand. I just don't know.
I got to get to the bottom of it.
Yes,
because
definitely.
It's been an inconvenience.
Yes, technology can be maddening sometimes.
But I guess on that note, I think we should wrap it up.
Okay, I have to pee so bad.
You threatened that you were gonna bail and do that, but you haven't.
Well, yeah, because it's just like we're going to be finished here in a second. I can hold it. Right. You know how it is.
Yeah. Well, you're awesome. I think it's super inspiring that you are that you went back to close to your hometown and you're doing this and you're reconnecting with your high school friends, and I think that's cool, and I really hope that you guys get back to work, because I want to see this band live.
Oh yes, I would love to have you there.
I don't know what I could ever possibly do to help you out in your endeavors out there, but if there's anything I could ever do to help you out, let me know. And if I know of anyone like that needs some keyboards on a recording, I'll always recommend you. And
thank you, Mike.
You did an amazing job. Everyone really crushed it. I just feel like really humbled that I'm able to continuously assemble folks to do this. Like, I'm able to convince them to follow through with my weird ideas.
You're a damn good bass player, and you're great at putting these projects together. It's no wonder you get good people.
Thank you. That's more than too kind. Well, I guess my wife is texting me now. It's definitely time to scoot.
Okay.
Hey,
good.
This
is fun.
Thank you so much. You're the best. Have fun in Wichita, and I'll see you in the funny papers. I'll see you on the internets.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike Squires. Love you, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good night. I love you too. Bye.
Bye.